For this project, we're tackling an embroidered self-portrait made in the style of an artist named Victoria Viasana. Last time we worked on envisioning the pattern for our background, and we drew our pattern in colored pencil on our final fabric. Our next step is to begin embroidering our background pattern, but before we do that, we need to practice our sewing skills. In your art kit, find your small green practice paper that has fabric on one side and green paper on the other. You'll also need your piece of cardboard, your colored pencils, and the design that you made on your final piece of fabric with green backing. On your practice page, create a small section of your pattern using your colored pencils. Now make sure that your practice paper is on top of your cardboard and open up your yellow envelope to find the tack that's inside. We're going to use this tack to poke holes that will help us embroider our design. We're going to use the tack to poke a hole in the beginning and end of each straight line in our design. Right now, I'm going to demonstrate just the purple lines in my design. As you poke the holes, make sure you're going all the way through that practice page and into the cardboard. In your yellow envelope, find your needle threader and your needle. Thread your needle with your chosen color that matches as closely as possible to your colored pencil. Here's how to thread your needle using a needle threader. A needle threader has a loop of wire on the end. You will push this loop of wire on your needle threader through the eye, the hole in your needle, like this. Then you will put the end of your thread through that wire loop. You don't need to pull your thread all the way through this loop, just a little bit, 1 or 2 knuckles. Then pull your needle off the needle threader. Once the needle is off the needle threader, you can take the needle threader off your thread, and you're ready to go. One of your tails should be short, about as long as a finger or shorter, and the other tail should be nice and long, and this is the one you sew with. To keep our thread from coming off the needle while we're sewing, we can tie our short tail to our needle by crossing the short tail over the long tail and then pushing it under and back up through the loop. Pinch the tail with one hand and pull with the other hand to tighten. We're also going to need to tie a knot in the other end of the thread so that when we start stitching, our thread does not pull out. We're going to use the same process. Cross the tail over itself to make a small loop. And then push the tail down around and up through the loop. Pull tight. If the knot is all the way up here, you'll have a lot of thread that you can't use. Make your knot as close to the end of your thread as possible. Now we're ready to start our sewing. We always begin on the back side, and I'm going to try to aim for this hole right here. So if I flip my paper over to the back side, this is where I'll begin. I'll push my needle into the hole and tug it through. My knot should keep my thread from coming through the front side. Now I'll poke it down into this hole. And I've stitched part of my design. I'm going to repeat the process for these parts of this particular pattern. I'll go up through the green side and then down through the front. You might notice your knot comes a little bit loose as you sew, and you may need to pause to tighten it every once in a while. If you can't find the hole that you're looking for, try poking your needle just a little bit in from the front and then turning it over, and you should be able to see where your needle comes out. Once you have one part of your design sewn, you can either stop or you can continue with the next part of your pattern. Remember, we have to poke holes first. And then we can start sewing. Oh dear, it looks like my thread's come out. Do you remember how to use the needle threader? Put the loop of the needle threader through the eye of the needle, and then put your thread through the loop of the needle threader. We need to shorten this tail so it's only as long as 1 or 2 knuckles. And then we can cross it over and push it through the loop to tie it onto our needle. I've run out of things to sew with this pattern. If I had more, I certainly could continue, but I'm going to stop here and flip it over to the back. Instead of tying a knot, we're going to secure our thread with just a little piece of tape. We'll use scissors to cut off our extra embroidery floss. And if you have a piece that's about as long as your finger or shorter, you'll just throw it away. My pattern will look way more interesting if I embroider the other parts as well. If I'm done sewing for the day, I need to make sure that in my envelope I have my thumbtack, extra thread, my needle, and my needle threader. I'll make sure I put this in my bag so I don't lose it.